Welcome to the Inspired Beatles. Question: as a live band, were they tight or sloppy? Well, they have a reputation for being tight, but some clips of Goofs, Gaffes, and Mayhem show just how rough around the edges Beatlemania was. Let's look at some examples. First, equipment.
I'll never dance with another.
With all the technologies of the 20th century, this one was elusive.
This mic one.
Sometimes you gotta work around it. Whoever set up this mic stand thought they were a really close band. And then it's always great when the backup microphones are completely off.
I'm in love with her and I feel fine. I'm so glad that she's my little girl. She's so glad she's telling all the world.
Or even better, when the foreground mic is off. Ringo's mic is almost never loud enough. This is their landmark Washington, D.C. gig, and somebody had a great idea of putting Ringo on a rotating drum platform with issues.
Hello? Thank you very much.
Watch the acoustic guitar behind George and Paul. Then we have the issue of blown lyrics. Can John forget an entire section?
Oh, you can do that.
Then when he does get it right, Paul's gonna flake out and completely forget his vocal part. George calls for backup. So he bails, because Paul's out there having a great time in his own personal orbit. Maybe George gets caught up in his own solo, because John gives him a little nudge. John frequently mangled the lyrics on this one. This could be the candidate for the Beatles' largest live train wreck. It starts with Paul not being able to remember the opening lyrics, so John helps him. And then Paul sings the second verse for some reason, which causes him to flub the next verse. Which throws John off so that he steps all over George's solo. I think he got over it. Well, maybe they took themselves too seriously. Trigger alert. To hide some of those weaker harmonies, George is going to provoke the mob. And during tense gigs, when they didn't see eye to eye, they'd get in each other's face. One time, right on stage, Ringo abandoned his drum set. Wait a minute. Okay, my bad. Actually, he's just on the riser. The Beatles mentioned they liked certain candies, and then they got pelted by them. George watches one bounce off Paul. John ducks for cover. The cymbal even gets hit by a tennis ball. This lady is gonna grab George to make sure he's not distracted. Somebody actually did rule Beethoven. There's always all kinds of weird things at these shows. Here we have a John Lennon lookalike running on stage. I mean, it's not like John's playing guitar for the show's finale. And then there's this whole thing, which is just insane. Watch John and George get shoved out. And away they go. Okay, so are the Beatles tight or sloppy? Well, I think it's like their haircuts. Just messy enough to be fun, tidy enough to hold together. And it works. Hope you enjoyed it.